You've kept your phone on you at all times. You've kept your voicemail password a secret. So how can someone listen into your phone calls as you're making them? This week, Click meets the hackers who have cracked the mobile phone network. So just who's listening into your calls? Plus, TVs galore. We have a handy guide to buying the right box and a glimpse into the future with a sneaky peek at holographic television. All that plus the latest tech news and a website that's a real load of balls in Webscape. Welcome to Click. I'm Spencer Kelly. Hackers generally get a bad rap. The name is associated with viruses, damaged hard drives, cybercrime. But actually, the term hacking simply means doing stuff with tech for which it wasn't originally intended. Cue the Chaos Computer Club, an enormous organisation of hackers which has previously got up to such mischievous antics as wiring our office buildings with lights to display huge text messages or play computer games on the sides of skyscrapers. But they also regularly demonstrate serious problems with existing tech, which the rest of us had assumed was safe. David Reed went along to their most recent meeting in Berlin.
In internet years, the Chaos Computer Club is getting on a bit. This is its 27th annual congress. Few outside Germany have heard of this hackers organisation, and yet perhaps they should have. Concerns over privacy and the administrative use of technology are often dismissed as a German thing, informed by the country's troubled history with surveillance. But these days, these preoccupations are more widely felt, especially among those who know how the technology works.
With that knowledge comes fear. And the fear is mostly because of a surveillance state which could come because the techniques are there. And we try to teach people about what is possible and that we can shape the future of using these technologies. And we don't have to wait what governments decide, but we want to form this future.
The Chaos Computer Club has identified security flaws in government IT systems. It reproduced the fingerprint of Germany's interior minister, allegedly lifted from his drinking glass, to demonstrate the weakness of biometric security systems. Airport security is something else that Chaos has set its sights on. Passes allowing staff into secure zones at airports often use radio frequency identification. Chaos has demonstrated that with the right gear, an enterprising terrorist would be able to read an RFID badge, reproduce it, and perhaps even gain access to the most sensitive parts of an airport. At this year's Congress, Chaos was looking at the security flaws in a technology we all use, mobile phones. Now, the problem with hacking phones is it's illegal. So the club set up a GSM network to explore how to eavesdrop on a technology widely perceived as secure.
Everyone knows the internet is insecure and you have to be careful on what you do on the internet because there are, people out there who can do things. But with telephone networks, this awareness is not there. People think a mobile phone conversation or communication they make with a mobile device is safer or is more secure than doing something online on the internet, which is not true at all.
Harold maintains that GSM networks rely on security technology developed in the 1980s. He believes telecoms won't up security until there's a public clamour for them to do so. In the meantime, there's a real risk that others can listen in on your calls.
Organized crime has been doing this for quite some time. Secret services have been doing this. Police forces doing this for legitimate reasons. But there are attacks on the system that have been done for 10, 15 years now, and anyone who wants to do it can do it.
There's clearly something very contradictory about setting up an organisation dedicated to chaos, but there is a community here, albeit a community of ideas and issues to mobilise around. Privacy is very important, and there are parts of the Congress that are completely closed off to cameras, but it's more about openness. That means opening things up, like open source software and platforms, but also hacking government, opening up what's seen as a closed system to greater transparency and scrutiny.
We need to adapt to the internet age, and what we need is a new definition of secrets. There might be some secrets which deserve to be there, but I think 80% of the secrets which are legally protected nowadays don't deserve to be protected.
Hacking government might not mean remotely breaking into the Pentagon, but reconstituting government as more transparent, redefining what is meant by secret. Take that website on the run, WikiLeaks. Some believe the best way to undermine it is not to close it down, but offer greater protection under the law for whistleblowers.
If someone wants to avoid people using WikiLeaks, they need to offer them better alternatives. So they need to show whistleblowers that they react on complaints and that they really take issues serious, that they are able to provide the change the whistleblower is looking for. So if his own organization provides the chance for change, why should he go for someone external? There are so many cases where we don't see the organization to react responsibly, where we don't see the authorities reacting responsibly, where the media do embedded journalism instead of investigative journalism. So no wonder we have WikiLeaks.
As hackers regularly demonstrate, digital doorways can be prized open, and the law's not much of a deterrent when it's so difficult to know who is picking the lock. What we put behind those doors is now up for grabs. Maybe we need to rethink privacy, security and secrecy to get some order out of all this chaos.
David Reed braving the Berlin blizzards. Your thoughts on this issue would be very welcome. It is, of course, a hot topic right now. Email click@bbc.co.uk or you can tweet us. We are at BBC Click. Next up, this week's tech news. And the big story this week is that Nokia will, in future, produce smartphones running Microsoft's Windows Phone 7. Nokia's new CEO described the dwindling sales of smartphones that use its homegrown operating systems as like standing on a burning platform. Well, now Nokia has jumped. Expect to see search, mapping and App Store tie-ups as well as the Windows OS on cheaper phones. And there's more on that in next week's special programme from the Mobile World Congress in Barcelona. The latest version of Google's browser has hit the web. Chrome version 9 fixes some major bugs and adds hardware acceleration for whizzy 3D graphics. The Chrome Web Store takes centre stage. It's a shop window for web-based applications in the cloud. With some visually impressive apps already, expect these programs to blur the line between website and desktop app. And staying with the browser world, the new beta release of Firefox 4 includes a button to easily opt out of being monitored by advertisers. The Do Not Track feature prevents admin from sending you cookies which can be used to follow your movements. And finally, an iPhone app which guides sinners through the process of repentance has received the blessing of the Catholic Church, or to be more precise, a bishop in Indiana, USA. The user is given a customised examination of their conscience, which can be password protected in case of prying eyes. A spokesman for the Vatican made it clear the app doesn't replace confession, an act that requires both the penitent and the priest to meet in person. No amount of tech can deliver absolution. A little while ago, we showed you how TV and laptop makers were trying to make 3D displays which you can watch without having to wear the 3D glasses. The thought being that it was the glasses that may put a lot of people off 3D TV in the home. But there are rumblings which suggest that 3D may have bigger problems than just those silly specs. 3D displays make your eyes work in an unnatural way. When you look at objects in the real world, your eyes will focus on and point or converge at the same point. But when watching 3D images, although your eyes point at objects that are supposedly in front of or behind the screen, they remain focused on the screen itself. This is true of 3D that works with and without glasses. Critics are saying that too much 3D content, or 3D where the depth in the image is too much, and the viewer will get eye strain and headaches. And as we saw recently on Click, several major manufacturers of 3D devices have responded to these concerns by advising that young children shouldn't watch 3D at all. Although the boss of DreamWorks Animation, Jeffrey Katzenberg, told me recently that he thinks the warnings are out of proportion. But some critics have suggested an alternative to the current 3D technology which won't cause eye strain. They say that the only way to do 3D properly is with holograms. This is a holographic TV. At the moment, it's still an early prototype. The image is dim and flickery, and that's just when you're running it in one colour. Full colour is even worse. But it can cope with either computer-generated images or video that's been shot using existing 3D technology. And it does look 3D when you sit in front of it. It uses the same principles as holographic photos that you may have seen in exhibitions over the last few decades. The image itself is stored on film, or in this case displayed on the screen, as an intricate set of interference patterns, which only form the desired image when you view it from the right angle and illuminate it properly. For each object in this scene, the light is being projected out of the screen to converge at the point where the object would be if it were really there. Now that means that my eyes can converge at and focus on the same point, which is what your eyes do in the real world when they're looking at a 3D object. It's not what they do when they're looking at traditional 3D, where they always have to focus on the screen but then swivel to somewhere way behind or way in front of the screen. What that means is with holographic TV, you can bring the image way forward in front of the screen or way back behind it without causing eye strain. Now, unfortunately, that last scene was a mock-up of what I could see from my position. The problem is that in order to view a hologram from any angle, the TV would need to display many more interference patterns, and that would take an enormous amount of data. This system gets around that by tracking the viewer's eyes with two cameras and only creating the interference patterns for the point that you're looking from. Although this does severely limit who can see the hologram, the system is capable of tracking up to 4 pairs of eyes at once and projecting images to each of them. Now, although this is just a first-generation prototype, it does already generate a convincing 3D image. The next generation will apparently get rid of the flicker, and that includes when you're watching full-colour video, and it will also be a lot thinner because this has been cobbled together from a load of medical equipment, believe it or not. All the teething problems have to be sorted out by the end of 2012 because that is when the developers hope holographic TV will be going on sale. Okay, so we've seen one possible future of TV technology. But if you need a new television this year, well, it won't be holographic, obviously, but you will still need to consider an enormous number of figures and features. LJ Rich has taken time out of her viewing schedule to bring us this guide to buying a new box.
What's left to know about how to buy a telly? Not much if you enjoy sifting through tech specs. But if you'd rather actually watch telly than trawl through the jargon, keep watching. As a starting point, how large do you want it? Here's one idea. Work out how far you sit from your telly in inches and divide by 3, or 4 if you want to go smaller. Let's face it though, if you want a giant picture, no equation's going to get between you and that 50-inch monster. But before you get your wallet out, size isn't everything, as we all know, when it comes to TVs. And if you get greedy with screen size, you might be missing out on quality.
For example, the TVs in the store may be set up very differently to how you'd have it at home. Brighter colours might be hypnotising, and there's probably a nice fat HD feed in there too. not much of a consideration if we're mainly planning on watching high def.
But get your new TV home and what you're watching through your set will complete the picture. The way a TV manipulates standard definition pictures tells you a lot about the processing chip inside, so you get a feel for what you're about to shell out for by watching something in SD.
If in doubt, take along a couple of DVDs with you, something from your own movie collection, for example, something that you've seen on your TV that maybe you're upgrading from, and get the store to play them back. You'll be able to then take a judge on the quality around that. Also, another word of advice, see if you can watch something like a football match. Not really a tough job, but if a TV set in a shop is showing things like cartoons, they're designed to show fantastic, brilliant, vibrant colours that really pop out of the screen, whereas a football match is a bit more muted and also shows fast-moving action. You'll be able to determine whether you're getting judder or smearing across the screen, and you should stay away from those ones.
You need to stay away from a few others too. Cheap LCDs used to suffer from poor viewing angles. Now, not so much. But it's still worth inspecting your telly from different angles and seeing how the screen deals with reflected light.
One thing that's easily forgotten when buying a new TV is the sound. So if you're not going to plug in a home theatre surround kit, you do need to test the speakers on your prospective set. So check the volume at low and high levels and make sure that speech sounds clear and that when you do turn it up, you're not getting distortion or crackling.
OK, we've dealt with the big stuff. Now, smaller things that should help narrow your choice. How many inputs in the back do you need? Can you get round the remote control easily? And how does the on-screen guide seem to you? Ultimately, how well thought out is the set?
When it comes down to using a TV, actually design is often not at the forefront. So people are often flummoxed by complicated and fiddly controls and can't get to grips with the menu system. So there's one thing that TV manufacturers can improve. It's not the picture, it's not the audio, but it's actually how usable something is, and actually to make TVs as accessible and as engaging as absolutely possible.
And it's game on as manufacturers engage viewers with the newer 3D-capable sets emerging onto the market. You'll be paying a significant premium while they're still in their infancy. Although, like most new tech, the cost is likely to come down significantly and rapidly. But for now, one for the early adopters, unless you're a sports fan or an avid gamer. Other notable features appearing on newer tellies include the addition of built-in internet connections, wired or wireless. But you don't have to get a new set to update your viewing experience. Devices like the Boxy and the Apple TV work with your existing set to give you limited internet access on your telly. Some can stream media files on your home network and connect to sites like YouTube. The PlayStation 3 and the Wii also allow access to the web. TVs are like pets. Think about what you want, as once you've decided, it'll be in your house for a long time to come. And knowing what you're after will reward you with the TV of your dreams.
LJ Rich, who watches nearly as much TV as I do. And that buyer's guide will be up at our website. The details are coming soon. In the meantime, you will have heard us talk in the past about Windows, the operating system for PCs, and also the equivalent for Apple Macs, OS X. But there is a third flavour of operating system out there, and admittedly, we don't talk as much about it. It is Linux. Now, roughly speaking, Linux is a name which describes a family of operating systems that are based on Unix. They're free and they're open source alternatives to the other two. Now, it sounds quite techie, I have to admit, but these days it doesn't have to be. As Kate Russell now explains in Webscape.
If you want an operating system that's fast, free and has a reputation for security, why not ditch your premium OS and give Linux a try at PCLinuxOS.com. There are 7 different builds to choose from, and by downloading the trybeforeyouinstall.iso file, you can preview the desktop by burning a CD and using it to boot your machine. Sounds complicated, I know, but there are instructions on the site, and it's worth persevering if you want to win your Geek Badge of Honour and join the ranks of Linux users. Once it's downloaded, you reboot your computer to the live CD instead of your installed operating system. What this means is that, crucially, you can try out the operating system before making any permanent changes to your hard disk. When running off the CD, the operating system will be incredibly slow, but don't let that put you off. That's to do with the mechanics of reading the CD rather than a fault with the operating system. It also means that any hardware conflicts can be detected before an irreversible installation, which is a big comfort when making such a radical change to your setup. People rarely like the way their own voice sounds in a recording. Well, don't let that bother you, just change it with Audacity. A free download for Windows, Mac and Linux machines, with provisional support for Windows 7 in the latest beta release. If you're a podcaster or you've enjoyed using some of the lip-syncing animation packages that I've shown you recently, this could be a welcome addition to your creative arsenal. You can edit, trim, add effects, or even remove unwanted noise like breathing before exporting the track out for use. There are loads of pre-installed effects that help to boost and smooth out your dulcet tones ready for broadcast. For added pizzazz, you can run it through an equaliser, which also has a good selection of presets for different sound qualities. I want to show you the home of a web developer now. As well as being loaded with fun little toys and curios, if you're looking for inspiration on how to put together your own website, this could be an excellent place to start.
I am beautiful, no matter what they say.
I've said it before and I'll say it again, I do like a nice interface. I could actually just sit and play with the homepage of this site for hours, and there aren't enough sites that you can say that about these days. Once you're done playing with the homepage, there are some cool toys to while away your lunch break with. Bounce and Light make a cool screen to watch if you're listening to music, or why not try doodling in Anaglyph 3D? At last, another excuse to wear my funky 3D glasses.
Don't you bring me down today.
Saying I love you.
If you're having trouble with the language of love this Valentine's Day, you might want to ask Google for help. Google Translate works in real time across 57 languages and will speak the translation back to you or the person you're trying to communicate with.
我爱你很
The free mobile apps for Android and iPhone use voice recognition, so you can use them anywhere, as long as it's quiet. OK, so the language of love isn't counted in the translation list, but it's pretty special and bound to impress if you want to ask your cute Spanish neighbour out on a date.
Le gustaría ir a cenar.
Kate Russell, and you can check out Kate's links at our website. That's where she lives most of the time. Well, the rent's cheap and she keeps it nice and clean for us. The address is bbc.co.uk/click. Also at our site, you'll find a video stream of this programme and a link to our sister programme on BBC World Service Radio. It's called Digital Planet and you should check it out sometime. And after our report from the Chaos Computer Club in Berlin, the Digital Planet team are a few kilometres up the Autobahn at a cybersecurity conference in Munich to find out if it will ever be possible to draw up rules of engagement for cyber warfare. Now, please feel free to get in touch with us about anything and everything that you've seen on the programme today. You can email click@bbc.co.uk or tweet us. We are at BBC Click. That is it for now, though. Thanks for watching, and we will see you next time.